This is a really delicate subject, and I'm not saying this to offend anybody, particularly not Orrin West's mother. I'm saying this because I feel like people in society are let down over and over and over again, and then tragedies occur, and I really feel the need to say this because I think it's important, and I'm just going out on a total limb, okay? So I want to remind you first of a case that happened a long time ago in the true crime realm, if we're thinking about cases that we all start talking about and then forget for a while. Cadesha Bishop is a woman with a violent history, always having trouble fitting in and probably never really finding a place in society. And Cadesha Bishop murdered, in my mind, a man called Serge Fournier. What happened was they were both on a packed bus, and Serge, this old man, dared speak up to Kadesha to ask her to be pleasant and polite to fellow commuters. When another passenger got off the bus and the doors opened, Kadesha shoved Mr. Fournier out of the bus. He flew out of the bus onto the sidewalk and fell flat on his face, knocking himself badly, and he died in hospital a month later. Now I want to talk about Orrin West and something that I feel he shares with Kadesha. Orrin West, I believe, deserved, as did Orson, but Orrin deserved a home where he would get special care, where his environment would be a certain way, and where he would be getting particular attention to help him move forward in life best he can so as not to become a Kadesha. And why do I say this? His mother is accused of drinking when he was a fetus, and there is a condition that can occur in people when their mother drinks alcohol in their development in the womb. So it's fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. And I think Cadesha Bishop suffered this, and I think little Orrin may have suffered this, may suffer this, and I don't think he was getting the right sort of household support, nurturing, treatment at all. FASD can be characterized not only in behaviors but by some facial features, and these are namely a thin top lip, a flat plethrim. It can mean that they have small eyeball openings, that they have a shorter nose, and this condition would make a child rambunctious. It's a spectrum disorder that can be considered brain damage, and it needs to be treated in a certain way. It can't be cured, it is for life, but maybe it can be managed with proper diet, with proper routines, with proper responses, nurturing, discipline, and I mean not by being struck and treated badly, but in terms of learning to understand oneself and control one's impulses. Because I think Cadesha Bishop just had this life of violence that she was barely in control of, and she hadn't had the help that she could have received to help her process things in a better way. And maybe Orrin was in a household because they're so selfish, they weren't in it for the right reasons, they'd already struggled with other foster children, they weren't educated in the way that could show them how to respond to a child, how to recognize that he needed special help. What were the services doing? Child protection services, people placing these children in foster care. What are they doing to recognize that a child might need a very special home, one where they get the right support, education, diet, nurturing, so that this child isn't having to be doomed with a certain type of life. Okay, now this is not an excuse for Trezell and Jacqueline West if anything has happened in that home to do with violence, frustration, etc. No, not at all. And it is not a judgment on mother. What this is an urge for society and for government to pay more bloody attention and to not let these children down at every stage of their life. What the actual fuck is happening? Okay? Why are children slipping through the cracks? Now, if I am right, and it is the case that Orrin, the 3-year-old, suffers from a spectrum disorder, number one, yes, the so-called authorities should be aware. So should the foster parents. Foster parents, just like regular parents, should be paying attention to what is happening with the children under their roof, in their care. They should give an actual fuck, and they should be seeking assistance. Now, if Jacqueline West is homeschooling these children, she's spending a lot of time with them. If she is any sort of educator, she should be recognizing developmental issues, she should be recognizing behavioral issues, and she should be seeking out the correct help. Because to me, I just look at this poor little face and I think, is this what Trezell is talking about when he is saying kids are going to be rambunctious? I mean, has a child been out of control, and these parents that aren't in it for the right reasons, that don't have patience in their heart, they don't have a curious mind in their skull, they're not going to give two fucks? Are they just going to be reactionary, and are they going to react in a way that is very unpleasant and possibly life endangering? You know, what is the real story here? Go and look at Cadesha Bishop. Look at her history. Look at FASD and the life that someone suffering from this spectrum disorder can expect to live without the right sort of help, nurturing, support. If they're just sort of on their own in the world to make sense of it, well, they bloody can't. They're often violent, they're often explosive, they make very poor decisions, they have trouble with relationships, and they get in a lot of terrible situations, and they cause pain to others, such as the death of an innocent person when they, without thinking, push someone violently from a bus. So look up the facial features that show up in human beings that suffer from the spectrum disorder. Look up the behavioral patterns that you can expect them to exhibit. Look at the special needs that they have, the nurturing that they need, the attention, the intellectual support, emotional support, the home environment that they will need. And then look at what possibly Orrin West never received. And you've got these people that are already incapable maybe of supplying a safe home, a nurturing home, a loving home, one that applies itself to supporting a special needs person as well as providing special care. One of the things that people look at when they're diagnosing is someone being underweight. And it's definitely the behaviours, okay? And rambunctious might be one way, if one wasn't speaking in clinical terms, it might be one way that this child could be described. How many times are we going to let people down over and over again? That's just what I want to say, okay? People that know more about this, I urge you, please look into this. I think it is a mystery to be solved, and I think that there are people that need to be held accountable, and I think namely when services are taking children away, what attention are they really paying? How capable are they of getting people into the homes that they need to be into and getting the support that they need to be receiving, into setting these people up for the lives that they can live as best as possible, rather than setting them up for a life of suffering and of maybe causing suffering through something caused by brain damage. It's not a choice to be this way. It's not a choice to be born this way. It's not a choice to be acting in a way that causes people pain, okay? Cadesha Bishop, I really believe this about her. I think she was huge trouble. I think she should not have been left roaming around in society at this late date, because I think it should have been recognised well that she had a huge issue, and she wasn't helped from birth. She had a terrible freaking life, and it seems that Orrin West, if this is the case here, well, he was not getting the help that he needed either. And if he's not in the right sort of home, this is just a powder keg.